This podcast is brought to you by absolutely no one. The Bold and the Beautiful podcast with Dave Eller. Who the hell is Dave Eller?
Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm Dave Eller, and this is the very first episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. And for this conversation, which may sound a little bit echoey because I am inside of a gym or a martial arts dojo, which would normally be teeming with activity, but social distancing restrictions has seen it closed to the public at the moment. But that did give me a chance to catch up with the man that owns the place, catch up with him for a chat. He's a dad. He's funny. Well, he thinks he's pretty funny. He's passionate about his craft. And he is 10 times world Muay Thai champion. Boom! So he does pack a bit of a punch. And he's a hell of a nice guy as well. Please welcome my first beautiful guest, the gunslinger, John Wayne Parr. You know what I noticed the other day? All your kids start with a J.
Yes. That was Angie's fault.
That was Angie's fault?
That was
planned?
That was on purpose.
Okay. So maybe we have to change Angie's name. And you've got
Angie.
So you've got Jesse James, you got Gemma
and
Jazzy. Is Jazzy liking the BJJ?
Oh, loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment she's killing it with the Muay Thai, but if things get slow, she's happy to do a couple comps here and there, and then down the road, if the opportunity arises where you get to have MMA fight, she's keen to jump on that as well. And then. So when I took Lockie to Singapore, we were doing a glove check, and then one of the gentlemen goes, "What size glove are you?" Large. You go, start practicing these. Thinking, and then Jazzy, what size? You should start training in these because expect a phone call on your birthday.
Get out! How good is that?
And then so Lockie had his fight. I went back to Australia. Jazzy and Lockie went to Thailand. They win the Sitman try. Jazzy fought a week later in Thailand.
Yep.
And then they got quarantined when they came back to Australia for 2 weeks. And now they're both living at home. So they're possibly me, Lockie, and Jazzy all under one roof fighting for one championship.
Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of one championship, what the hell is going on? I thought you retired.
Yeah. So
I went to the Mundine fight. I was sitting there, front row, screaming my head off. You probably didn't hear me, but I was making a lot of noise. I heard you retired. You did the hip.
Hip was sore, yeah.
Did you have the replacement?
In the process now.
Yeah.
Currently with what's going on, there's no elective surgery. So I'm all done. I'm all ready to go. And then the surgeon's like, you're in that small percentage that it can get the resurface. So
Is that where they shave it off or something?
So Mundine's had exactly the same surgery. He's done in England, but now it's becoming quite popular where a lot of sports people and younger people are doing it as well. So once you do that, you might get 5 to 10 years out of it, and then you have to get the full replacement.
Yep.
And then once the full replacement's done, you might get 10, 20 years out of that. And once that's done, then I'm sort of. So they're a little bit sort of you're so young, and if you wear it out, there's not much room for error.
Yeah.
So
So when are you thinking? You're gonna get it done before you go into one championship?
The surgeon I'm speaking to, he said it's a 2-month recovery turnover.
Yep.
So 2 months recovery and then start training.
I had a mate of mine who's an older guy. He's probably late 50s. Had a hip replacement. He had the full hip replacement.
Yep.
Does MMA. But what he did, he made sure that he trained his ass off for a good 6 to 8 months beforehand. He got himself in top physical shape. He was stretching, he was working, doing strength stuff. He got out of surgery. He was up and at him like in the next few days.
Yep.
And back in there, the nurses, the doctors couldn't believe how awesome it was because it's all in your prep.
Yeah.
It's like going to a fight. You know, everything's in your prep. If you don't prepare, if you don't train right, ready for it, your fight's going to be shit. Yeah. It's the same with your surgery. If you don't get ready for it and make sure you're in top physical shape for your surgery, you're not going to come out the back end very good.
So you want to hear a funny story? So one of the guys that trains here, he works in the hospitals. He sells the parts to surgeons.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes, "Hey, do you want to come watch a live operation?"
I'd
love to. And he goes, "If anyone asks any questions, just say you're one of my apprentices." So the next day we go to Pandara, we scrub up, we put on the gowns, we put on the mask. He goes, "Follow me." And we just walk down this corridor with all these doors and he just picks a door and just goes in. I'm like, oh fuck. And then we go in the door, and then imagine the operating bed, and then there's the guy along on the bed, and there's his feet, there's his head, and the bed was elevated, so his head was down, his feet were up, and they put a tube in his belly button, it filled up his tummy, and that meant all his intestine could flop forward, so the surgeon get behind the, and then he had like this hook. He was watching a computer, so he could watch on the computer screen, and it had a hook, and as he was cutting, he was soldering at the same time. And it's all on the big screen as you're watching, he's solder, and then after 10 minutes, my friend goes, I'm bored, let's go. Oh, we got it. And then we walk down this corridor, and next minute we go to the main room, and it's the surgeon that's going to do me now.
Yeah.
Hey mate, nice to meet you. And then we're just about to start the surgery. It's a hip replacement. This is before I needed one, and it happened to be the one that I watched. And then he's like, hey Sarah, can you press play on the CD player? She goes, I'm so sick of this playlist. Just ask my favorite songs, just play it. It was like a scene out of a TV show. Presses play, the music's playing in the background. And then it was like a free private lesson. It's like, all right, so if I say come
So
here.
this is his operating music.
This is operating. So stand about 1 meter behind me in case of infection. And then from that moment forward, it was, all right, we're making an incision, we're separating this. And to get the hip out of the hip socket. So they got ladies on her tummy, they go heel to bum, and then heel to floor. And then he's on his tippy toes. And then eventually this thing just comes out like a turkey leg. So then they cut it, and then they insert the new rod, make sure it's all measured up properly. They drill out a hip, and they put this new socket in the hip, pull it in, they go stable. He turns to me and she goes, we'll have her up walking tomorrow. And it's like, you're kidding. No, I kid you not. The faster we get them up, the faster the recovery process begins. And it was so, I was a bit worried I was either going to pass out or be sick, but it was so fascinating. It's like, this is so educational, this is amazing, this is mind-blowing. It was really
no
cool.
one gets to experience that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have you found that obviously being in your position, being the man that you are, and the connections that you've met a shitload of people over your career. Do you find that you get invited to these type of things, you know, where you get to see stuff and do stuff that, like you were just telling me just before we came on about who you're training. You're training these people that have, you know, and you get invited into these homes with these mansions, and you're training people. You get invited into hospitals, and you're watching surgery. Who gets to do that stuff, man?
Yeah, very lucky.
That's crazy.
Back in the old days, when I was living in Bangkok, I used to get invited to the Australian embassy for all the big gigs. So I got invited to Australia Day, and I got invited, this is back in '99, they invited me to the 1 year before the Olympics in Sydney for the Australian flag raising. So to be a special member of the it was really cool.
You've had a pretty damn good career, man.
And it's not over.
It's not over. So speaking of not being over, retirement. So you've retired like 7 times now.
Yeah.
So when did you first retire from Muay Thai?
So the first one was 2012.
Yeah, that's right. You
I just broke my finger, and then I came up with the idea of CMT, cage Muay Thai.
That's right, yeah.
So it's like, all right, I was just burnt out, so I wanted to participate in MMA. I thought, MMA is quite popular now. I'll go to learn some BJJ so I can learn how a bit of a ground defense. And then my first BJJ session, I snapped my finger in half. So that night I'm laying in bed going, I really want to fight in the cage, but I don't want to learn the BJJ. I've been doing Muay Thai my whole life and never had any problems. And one BJJ class, and I snapped my finger. I said, how can I fight in the cage without doing the ground? I'll just do it Muay Thai. We do shows anyway, so instead of hiring a ring, I'll hire a cage. And then I went on the YouTube to see if anyone else was doing it at the time. And a lot of people were doing their Muay Thai in the cage, but they had the 10-ounce gloves on.
Yeah.
So this looks weird. I've been watching UFC for so long, and then to see big gloves, it just looked inappropriate. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I've got to wear the MMA gloves. So I want to experience the cage, plus I want to experience what it's like to be punched with those little ones on. So that was my mindset. And then I put it online thinking, hey, I want to do this. What do you guys reckon? And I got smashed. Everyone's going, how can you, this is blasphemy. This is a disgrace. You're the Muay Thai guy. How dare you, sir? Yeah. And I was like, oh no, I just got this inkling that this is going to be really cool. I'm gonna go on my gut feeling and just keep chasing it. So we did our first show 2012, and then every single fight from the first fight to the last fight was just edge of your seat. The earlier fights might not have had the same skill set, but at the same time, they were trying so hard to knock each other out that you couldn't help but be entertained. It's like, this is amazing. What they lacked in skill, they made up with aggression and violence. And then, yeah, we did the show. Then I fought the main event. I fought Jordan Tai. I had 4 rounds of crazy. I was lucky to stop him in the 4th. And then I tried to retire. And after 6 months of just laying and just not having anything to do, to having that void. Teaching classes is cool and helping fighters is cool, but just missing that adrenaline or having that purpose. Especially, I've been training for 20 years full time, never had a break, and then after 6 months, I had the hunger back again, had the itchy knuckles. So I just think I just needed some time out to find myself, and then realize that the sport isn't a job, it's something that I love. And so when I came back again, I had a newfound passion for the sport that I dedicated my life to. And now I was doing it because I wanted to do it. I wasn't doing it because it was a chore. I was doing it because I love it. And then that changed everything. That made my training more exciting, made the fights more exciting, and not to be taken for granted. And then, so that was 2012.
Well, plus you're also promoting at the same time.
Oh, yeah. And then with how exciting the CMT was too, fighting on the first one. And then it's like, oh, I've just created this monster. I can't turn my back on it now. I've just started it.
Mm.
So, ended up after 6 months, screw it, I'm coming back in. And then, 8 years later, and then my hips, the last probably 2 years, is just slowly degenerated every week to week to week. So I fought in Japan in August, and then halfway through my preparation, the promoter rang about fighting Mundine in end of November. Oh, this is amazing. This is cool.
But it'd been a while since you had a boxing fight, hadn't it?
2003 was my last boxing
Yeah.
fight. I didn't even have shoes. I didn't have a groin cup. Didn't have shoes. And watching Mundine for 20 years, never in the slightest inkling that I ever thought would fight each other, and then to get the opportunity to fight one of Australia's greatest boxers is like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Did you, now look, just on that, because I was at that fight, and I don't get the chance. I've been, as you know, I MC the fight shows. I've had the privilege of MCing you heaps of times.
Yeah.
And it's been unreal, get to introduce you into the ring. In the last 20 years, I don't think I've ever sat down and watched the fight show without working at it. And I got the opportunity from the promoter to come along to the Mundine fight to watch you fight, and I was like, man, I've never done this before. This is awesome. He gave me a ringside table. I sat there with my mates, and I was like, this is bloody unreal.
Yeah.
No wonder people love this stuff. I've always been right in the action, but this was unreal. And I got to watch you fight, and man, that was a cracker of a fight. It was a really cracker of a fight. Now, I don't know whether I heard a lot of negative stuff prior to the fight, basically saying, what the hell are these two guys fighting? We got a guy who's a boxer, he's washed out. We've got a guy who's a Muay Thai fighter, he's at the end of his career. Oh, you would have heard that sort of stuff as well. Yeah. And so I didn't know what to expect when I went in, but man, you guys gave it a good crack. Yeah, it was a really entertaining fight.
So how it all eventuated was Benny Marnie got the opportunity to go down and do rounds with Mundine. So we went down, I helped him in the corner, giving him water, just watching carefully, and then just watching, expecting the Mundine of the early 2000s, and then when we were watching the sparring, Benny was doing really, really well, which was quite surprising. And it's like, oh man, I don't think Mundine's starting on the decline now. He's not what he was for sure. And then the spar finished, we took some photos, did the thank you very much for the opportunity, this is awesome. And then about a week later, the promoter rang saying, hey, I was talking to Mundine and the opportunity, how would you like the opportunity to fight him yourself? And it's like, after watching Benny sparring, yeah, for sure, I'd love the opportunity. I think if I had fought him when he was in his peak, I don't think I would have got close to him.
He's definitely a different
He was
man.
amazing.
Yeah.
But after such a long career and so many hard fights and the age, so I know I still feel good, and I've just fought in Japan. I'm just getting ready for Japan, so I'm fit. I love the opportunity, and then what a way to go. And then I thought because it's a boxing fight, I won't have to kick for 10 weeks, which is going to give me opportunity for the hip to heal. And then I thought, oh, my hip's so done, I can't continue even if I wanted to. So yeah, preparation was really good, painful, So the hip doesn't hurt while I train. While I'm warm, it's good. Half an hour after I cool down, I just get the waves of pain, and that could go to 3, 4, 5 hours. And just as the pain starts to subside, then I got to train again, and then it starts all over again. So twice a day, just like, oh man. And then had the fight, called it quits. Had a bit of a sook on the ring.
You did. Well, it's pretty emotional. I mean, look, you did have a sook, but it must be an emotional thing to have that realization that this has been my life since I was 14, 15, 16, and now I'm 40 something, and I'm literally finishing.
Yeah.
You know, so we get it. So it's not a, it's not a. You know, I don't think anyone looks at it like you're sooking. It's just like, dude, that's freaking emotional. You know, that's hard stuff. But now you're back again.
Yeah. So when was it? When did I
this is like you're doing like the Kiss tour. Kiss retired a few times.
So one of the boys, Lockie, that trains with us, and who was also going out with my daughter, Jazzy, he had the opportunity to get signed by One. His first fight for the company was for the world title against Sam A in Singapore. So Sam A has 420 fights and Lockie has 40. And it's like, okay, your first, we want to sign you. And we're like, oh, that's amazing. Lockie's on the big stage now. And then not doing him any favors whatsoever. That's all right, so your first fight's going to be against the killer for the world title. And it's like, whoa, what an opportunity. Win, lose, or draw, no matter what happens, as long as we fight strong and put on an entertaining fight, it's a win-win. Long as we put up a good fight, doesn't matter what happens. And then, so we got over to Singapore, got to meet everybody, seen how professional the company was. Got to meet Yod Chetrai, the promoter. And then the first time meeting him in the back room with Lockie, he was amazing. I gave him the Sawadi, and then he goes, oh, I'm such a big fan, watching you forever. I love your punching, I love your aggression. I'd love to have you come back and fight for the company. It's like, you got my attention. I'm listening. So, and then once I got back to Australia, they sent me a contract, and then the contract was like twice that I was making for any other promotion in the world.
So is it signed, sealed, done?
Yeah, it's done. So I got a 6-fight deal over 2 years, and the biggest prize money I could ever possibly imagine. It's a dream come true. That sort of money. It's like, wow.
So obviously we're just going to wait till all this shit dies down and then get back into it.
For sure.
So, wow, that's like an almost a whole new career for you again.
Oh, for sure.
It's amazing.
It's not only is it a massive opportunity for such a world stage, but it's just exciting because not only is it so big, but you got the guys like Cosmo Alexander, Nicky Holtz, and Yod Singlai. Every single fight's a killer fight too. So to become a champion in that promotion, you really have to be on your game and be elite, because there's no gimmies. Every single person's like a proper champion.
Yeah, but you're used to that, you know. Like I followed your career. I've been, you know, when you fought. I've been in the ring with you, and I've introduced you. I've seen you fight some massive fights. I mean, you've had some big adversaries. You've had your Senklai, you know what I mean? Like you had 3 fights with him, and you know, anyone would have given up after the first 2 times that he beat you, and you went back in for a third, going, I know I can do it, and you fucking did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like unbelievable. Zambides, you know, you fought him, you lost. He was a little nugget. He's just a bulldog, isn't he?
Yeah.
And man, you literally destroyed him, you know, in the end. And that was, when was that? That was about 09, and then 11 you fought Yod Senklai, and then you retired. So you won a couple of world titles off these guys. You peaked and you retired. Now you're coming back, and I'm just wondering, where's your mindset on when it ends? Like, are you thinking, okay, I'm going to do these 6 fights, and then I'm going to retire? Or is it still a scary thing to retire? Is it still like sort of, shit, I really don't want to?
So in between my little break of my last retirement, I got to go to a funeral, and then while I was at the funeral, I seen a friend of mine in the box, and that was like a big reality. It's like, once you're in that box, that's it.
He didn't die from Muay Thai, did he?
No. But just the fact that once the box, they close the curtain, and
there's no more dreams.
So no matter how young, old, fit, whatever, once you're in that box, that's the big finale. So it's like, I don't want to be. I want to be remembered. I got stuff to do. I've got goals I still want to kick.
People I still want to kick.
Yeah, people's faces aren't going to punch themselves. So I consider my job a community service for everyone that wants that face punched. Yeah, it's just keep doing what you love doing. Why stop if you're able? Body's not 100%, but at the same time, I have so much enjoyment that I'm happy to put up with the pain and keep living my dream. Yeah.
And what about the kids? Because your kids are doing Muay Thai. They're now doing the jits.
Yep.
Do you push them into fighting? Are you sort of, when I say push them, I don't mean like, come on, you got to get out there. But are you sort of like, yeah, no, it's all good, do whatever you want. But secretly you're like, fuck yeah, come on, get in there, keep doing it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Deep down, I love the idea that they're even into martial arts at all. But yeah, I don't have to push them whatsoever.
Because they're very talented. They're very talented.
Jazzy's very self-motivated. I never have to tell her to put her shoes on or go do pads or go to the gym. And then my son's 11 and my daughter's 5. And then we've set up jigsaw mats in the house now. Yeah. Because they're wrestling on the carpet, and me and Ange, we'll get some mats for the room. And then every single day, you almost got to tell them to stop wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, guys, that's enough fighting today. We can continue fighting after dinner. So it's really cool. It's the perfect lifestyle for any martial arts family, I believe. It's just cool. It's just cool to have the kids involved, and I'll jump in and I'll wrestle with my son, and then the little guy, I want to wrestle too, and then he'll jump out, and the little one jump in, and you let them win sometimes, and sometimes you got to show them who's boss. And
is Jazzy coaching at the gym?
Yes,
she's doing a bit of coaching.
Yes, so she finished school end of year 10, and then she did her certificate 3 and 4. So for PTs and weights, she can teach weights, she can do classes, she do PTs. And she's so busy. She's got heaps of little girls and little kids that are training with the PT wise, and she's doing really good with teaching classes and stuff, and everyone respects what she has to say. And she's had 26 fights, so it's not like she's an amateur. She's had worldwide experience going overseas and fighting overseas, representing the country. So.
I mean, really, your gym, look, I've just walked in this gym. I haven't been in here for a while, and the first thing you said to me, and the first thing I noticed was the new mats.
New mats, yep.
And you're telling me now you're going to start jiu-jitsu here?
Yes.
Unreal.
Yes, we have Professor Daniel from
who's my professor.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's such a cool guy, and because he's Brazilian too, he's the most authentic you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And such a nice guy.
He's a great bloke. I obviously first met him 8 years ago when he first came to Australia, and I started with him. So my very first stripe I got with him, my black belt I got from him. In fact, we were the first students of his in Australia to go from zero to hero and go through our whole tuition with him.
That's amazing.
So really, really proud of that. But I remember when he first came over, as a lot of the Brazilians, they don't speak hardly any English. So we were teaching him as he's teaching us Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and he's saying certain words, like especially like guard. They say guard instead of guard, the Portuguese. So we were teaching him English and helping him expand on his English. And now he's just, everything. He's got the world at his feet. He's third Dan. He's teaching. He's refereeing. He's a legend in BJJ in Australia. It's great.
And he's got the itchy knuckles now too, because now he wants to. Now he's here. He wants to tidy up his striking, so he might.
He'll definitely. If he comes in here with
a bit of a twist of the arm.
He's another one. He just wants to keep fighting. Like he's had a few MMA fights, and he's had a mixed career. He's won some, he's lost some, and I was there at his last one, and he won that one. Beautiful head kick, which keeps coming up on social media. He loves that. But man, once you get him here with you, he's going to be itching at the bit again. He's going to be wanting getting in there.
So the funny story was, I didn't tell Angie that I signed with one. That was a surprise for everybody. It was everything happened so fast that the email come through. I quickly scanned it. I signed it. I sent it straight back, and then she was shocked as anyone else. And then she went to BJJ the next day and seeing professional. Go, I'm so worried about my husband. He's gone behind my back and signed this contract. And then he backed me up straight away. Goes, I'd do exactly the same thing. If I had some skills and I got offered the money he was getting offered, 100% I would have done. And then that sort of helped weather the storm a little bit for when she come home. She was a little more understanding then. But it's good to have someone in the same predicament that I'm in.
He's in the same predicament. Like, I think Professor Daniel, he's in his mid-30s, and mid-30s is notoriously a time when I think for men, you know, it was a while since I was in my mid-30s, but
Yeah.
when you're in your mid-30s, you I don't know, you feel like you're at your peak of your strength. You feel like you're only getting strong. I don't know if that was the same for
Yeah.
you, but
Yep.
for me, I felt like, man, I'm only getting stronger, I'm getting fitter. But at the same time, a lot of people see that you almost, you know, say that you're past your use-by date. You know, I remember when I started jiu-jitsu and MMA, I was late 30s, and I was coming home with black eyes and injuries, and I did my knees so many times and my ribs, and they're going, Dave, you're too old for this shit, man. What are you doing? I'm like, piss off. I'm too old. I can do this. And you just, when you've been doing martial arts and you've been doing combat sports, and I think you get into your 30s, you feel like you've still got so much more to give.
Yeah.
And obviously that's how you're feeling, and you're still feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're 44 next month too, aren't you?
44, yeah.
Yeah.
You do research, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool, that's cool.
How you feeling about that?
No, my body still feels good, my mind still feels young. And then I just think of it as a book. It's like, do I want this to be my final chapter? And it's like, I still believe I still have a few more fights in me as well.
But do you want to get hit? Okay, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Do you want to go out on a high? I mean, obviously we all want to go out on a high. You know what I mean? And
So both times I retired, I beat Jordan and I beat Mundine.
yeah, then you beat Mundine,
Yeah.
right? So wouldn't it piss you off if
It
you
so
go into this
pissed me
one
off.
championship
It
and you
so
just
pissed
have
me
a
off.
shit run,
Yeah.
and it's like, now I'm going to be remembered as the guy that couldn't
The
make it
guy.
in one.
I'm the guy, no.
Because we always want more, don't we? We want to keep going. We want to keep pushing that envelope, and we still want to believe. And we, you know, and I suppose you've got to have that self-belief in you.
Yes.
But we still want to believe that we can mix it with the best and finish on top. But how much would it piss you off if you don't?
Yeah, it'll definitely suck, but I still have the same passion and the still drive. I'm excited to train, and then I'm just thinking in my head, the worst case scenario, let's say I've been lucky to retire twice. I've got two awesome memories of retiring twice and finishing good, but I'm thinking do the best that I can, put on some exciting fights, win, lose or draw, and then worst case scenario is I get to be burden free without having to worry about if I can pay my house off and pay my gym off.
How much does it mess with your head though if you're not training to fight?
Oh yeah, it's terrible. I just after a good session, you feel alive. You got the sweat dripping off you. You're
You got the
exhausted.
dopamine running through you.
Yeah,
You got-
exactly. There's no better. If you could bottle it and sell it, you'd be a multi.
Because I know a few guys some guys in MMA that live down my way, and they've been Australian champions, and they've stopped, and they've lost the plot a bit, you know.
Yep.
And I know a few guys like that. It happens to guys in football. You hear about it in guys in NFL in America, because the sport and the competition and the being on top has been such a big part of their life.
Yes.
And suddenly they finish and they go into retirement, and they might have the money, they might have the lifestyle, they might have the gym, they might have the friends, but there's that something that is missing, that competitive edge or that drive or that adulation you get from the crowd.
Yes.
There's something that in their head they miss so much that I think it gets expanded, you know, out of proportion.
Yep.
And it drives them a bit nutty. Did you find that was affecting you when you sort of decided to retire? Was it
Being irrelevant, just falling off the map and just being everyday Joe.
But you know you can never be everyday Joe.
Yeah.
You know, like no matter what, you cannot be everyday Joe. You know, like you've achieved stuff that no one else has achieved. You've got this kick-ass gym, which you own, by the way.
Yeah.
It is all yours. You've got a family of fighters coming through. You've trained champions, you know, but it's still not the same, is it?
I sort of hit a crossroads when I hit that retirement where it's like a rediscovery of who I am, because every time it says, who are you? I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter. It's always been my natural reaction. I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
And when you catch a plane and come back into Australia, occupation, pro fighter.
Retired fighter.
Retired fighter. And then I was saying something the other day. My life's always been about a date. All right, September 1st, boom. So train, have the fight, have a week off. All right, next date. All right, November, blah, blah. So da-da-da-da. And it's always date. And then you're always preoccupied, searching. And then I also tell people it's almost equivalent to climbing Mount Everest. You're climbing. You're not quite at the summit. You can see the summit, you're not quite there. And then all of a sudden you're sort of stuck. You want to stop and you can see the top. It's like, I just want just that little bit further. And it's like, oh, if I stop, I'm going to, and then people can overtake me now. But if I keep going, hopefully it'll be no one can follow my footsteps in. Hopefully,
a big part of that mental health is having that goal. And as I said about these other guys that I've seen, I've noticed the same thing. When they stopped, I believe that their focus is no longer there. So they had the focus of the fight, the Australian title, the world title, whatever it may be. They know that they're in camp for the next 8, 12 weeks, whatever they want to do. And that gave them the drive. And when they finished that one, they knew they had a break of X amount of weeks and they'd get back into it again.
Yep.
So is the trick in finding something else in our lives that gives us those little goals? Because imagine normal people. You're not a normal person. But imagine a normal person with a normal job, a normal life, and a wife and a couple of kids doing their thing. No wonder people go freaking insane. You know, it's somehow we've got to find that trick of that little goal in our lives. Whether it's the next holiday, whether it's rebuilding a car, whatever it may be, we've got to keep that passion up.
Yes.
And obviously you're going to come to that point the third time you retire. You're going to come to that point again. What are you thinking? What do you reckon you can do?
I'm not sure. I really enjoy entertaining. So the fights are amazing, but also the buzz from the crowd and the buzz from the cheering. And standing on top of the cage, sitting on the cage or the top rope. I equivalent to Highlander, where he does the quickening. So when you get the knockout win, you stand there and you just feels like every single cell in your body is electrified. And it's like
maybe you might. I wonder if down the. I mean, obviously your kids are fighting, and you've got Jazzy there, who's still, the world is at her feet. Jesse James, he's a great little fighter. I've actually emceed both of your kids as well in their fights. How's that? You, Jasmine, Jesse James, I've introduced you all into the ring. I'm just waiting for little Gemma to come through now. I get to introduce her.
Yeah.
But I don't know, do you think that if your kids decide to really take the fight game more seriously and push through, that you would get the satisfaction of hoisting them up on your shoulders and taking them through?
I've been lucky to take Jazzy to England twice and Canada. I took her to Thailand once but got sick, ended up in hospital. That sucked. But just the adventures of spending the week with Jazzy and catching trains and just having that father-daughter and no distractions, and we're both strangers too, so we've got no one else to bounce off besides each other. It's a really cool bond to have with a family member. And I can't wait to do it with my son as well, just to disappear for a week and just get another country and represent and compete and win.
And you've gone through so many. Where have you fought? You fought in Japan.
So the other day, to kill time, I wrote down my record, and then I've discovered out of my 147 fights, 77 have been internationally.
Wow.
So lots about 40 in Thailand, I fought in Japan 17 times in Japan. Fought in England twice, Italy 3 times.
Why don't you just go over over Thailand, retire over there as a god?
Oh,
they all think you're a living legend over there.
Yeah, geez. Yeah, so
you could go over and start your own Thai restaurant over there. They would love you. You can do anything over there.
Australia's so beautiful. After living there for so long and come back to Australia, we have the best lifestyle, especially on the beach, especially on the Gold Coast.
Lifestyle's good here.
Lifestyle's amazing.
I think...
and we've got the government looks after us at the moment as well, so with everything that's going on, even before... so Thailand has no pension, no dole, no Centrelink, it's every man for himself almost. And then once you retire, then you got to rely on your kids to supply your food and the shelter and everything else. So at least here, there's a little bit of pension, a little bit of Centrelink, a little bit of home assistance.
There's more opportunity as well.
Yeah. And it's clean, we've got fresh air.
But there's nothing like going to a country like Thailand or, there's some of these countries that you can go and they're beautiful in their own way. They're amazing. It's the simplicity. I love the simplicity. You go over there and it's just, life's simple. They don't have the shit to worry about that we worry about. They don't, they don't get all this stuff in their head like we get into our head. But at the same time, that's the beautiful stuff, but it's also some of the bad stuff as well, because there's more poverty over there, the disease, the health, all that sort of stuff. So it's some good stuff, some bad stuff, but I think everyone in here should do what you've done, and I've been lucky enough to, is to travel as much as you can.
Oh, for sure.
So you can come back here and go, I really do live in a fucking good place, man.
Yeah, it's not till you go away that you appreciate what you do have here. And I've said since I was a little boy, before I even started fighting overseas, my main goal is to see as many countries as possible through the sport.
Yeah.
So for the guys that don't fight, that won't understand, so the promoter will ring up from, let's say, Japan, and they'll say, all right, so we want you to fight on this date, so you got 8 weeks to prepare, and they'll pay for you and a cornerman to fly there for free. They'll organise your accommodation for the week, and then usually 9 times out of 10 they'll give you food money as well. So there's no reason why you should have to put your hand in your pocket for that whole week that you're there. You get to compete in front of maybe 30, 40,000 people, plus the TV as well. With K1, they had 20 million TV viewers just in Japan alone.
Yeah.
And then getting mobbed by the Japanese fans used to be so amazing. So for that 7 days, you're a little bit of a star. Everything's paid for. You get to fight. You get to live the dream. Then when you come back to Australia, you just blend in with the crowd again. You're going from a superstar to just normal Joe. So, and then it's good too, because you don't. I'd hate to imagine what a Conor McGregor lifestyle would be, where you can't leave your house, or you can't go to the shops by yourself, or.
Well, there's something. I mean, we all envy that, don't we? We all envy fame and fortune and money and popularity, and watching these guys and watching the likes of Conor McGregor, where he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and he does do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yes.
And he's good at what he does, and he just got those millions of dollars for fighting. We're thinking, man, but. Once again, like we're saying with Thailand, the beauty, then there's the flip side of, and it's the same with that fame and that fortune and that, being so, so famous that you get that money, but then suddenly you become this prisoner in your lifestyle where you can't go out and just have a bit of a normal life. You can't just rock up the street and go, I'm getting a hamburger and a Coke, and you just can't do it.
So I was very lucky to train George St. Pierre for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right, I remember.
So got the opportunity.
He was my favourite UFC fighter, without a doubt. Just nice bloke, good style, never spoke shit about anyone.
And then if you were good at boxing, he'd get really good at hands, so he could beat whatever your strength was. If you're a good wrestler, he'd out-wrestle you. If you're a good boxer, he'd out-box you, just to show that he could.
He just brought in the best people from all around the place to improve himself.
Yeah, and then so he was in the same predicament where hanging out with him for the first few days, you realise how, like you were saying, he become a prisoner of his own fame, where every single red light, everyone would be beeping their horns and calling his names, and every time I went to a restaurant, he'd have to take 2 bites of a meal, stand up, take a photo with the waitress. 2 bites later, now the cook's out. 2 bites later, now the owner of the building comes, and then go to a nightclub. It's just impossible. And after 3 or 4 days, you realise this doesn't turn off. This is 24/7, wherever he goes. So to give you an idea, we're going to go about 300 metres down the road. Next minute, he's calling a taxi. It's like, what are you doing? It's just, I can see where we're going. It's just there. I can see the sign. He goes, yeah, you don't understand. If we walk, that's 2 hours. I'm going, get out. Well, let's go then. I'll show you. And then sure enough, as soon as someone, hey, George, you want a picture? And next minute, the whole street comes out. And then sure enough, it took hours to go 300 meters up the road. It was like so mind-boggling. That's like, this is insane. It was like walking around with Elvis. It was just too famous. I've met famous people before, but too famous.
You still keep in contact with George?
He came to Australia about 2 years ago to do some live talking
some live
events.
talks, yep.
And then he gave me a text going, hey, I'm in Brisbane, do you want to catch up? So
How has he not gone into the movies? I mean, he was a good-looking dude. He was an amazing martial artist. Why didn't he become like the next Van Damme?
Sure. Maybe, I'm not sure. He'd like to do that, one of them big ones. Where he did I forgot the name of it. Where he played the French guy. As a Marvel Comics.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he was one of them, but I'm not sure.
You had sort of ambitions for a little while to maybe do some.
I was lucky to train some stuntmen, and then got to do a little bit of work, and we did the documentary. And I got to work with some other guys shooting some fight scenes and stuff, which is just a bit of fun.
Good documentary too.
Yes, Bliss of Venom.
Yeah,
Bliss of Venom. That was
awesome.
awesome.
Such a good documentary.
So one of the fathers that brought his son in, he was a producer. One day we were chatting about, and I was just telling stories like as you always. And then he talked to another big producer that happened to work on Superman and Moulin Rouge and all these other Mad Max. And he said, hey, would you like to shoot a documentary? Oh, sure, I'd love to. And sure enough, a couple of days later, I said, oh, here's your ticket for Thailand, let's go to Thailand. So we caught this plane, we went to Thailand together, and the next day for breakfast, the main guy, he handed me a pad and a pen. He said, I'll write down everyone you think we should interview. All right, maybe we should interview the promoter, we should go to my old camp, we should do this guy, we should maybe Sancho.
So you were like the producer, just like put it all together, that's great.
So then I handed the sheet back to him and he goes, all right, done. So he started contacting all those people, and just so happened, everyone happened to be available to do interviews. So I went to the promoter, Sancho flew up from Koh Samui to come to Bangkok to have a chat.
And you saw your old, your adopted parents over there, Paul and Mare?
Paul and Mare, yes.
How long had it been since you'd seen them when you went back for the documentary?
99, so approximately 10 years.
Wow.
So, and everything you've seen on the documentary was all real footage of real emotions of
it was amazing.
Seeing each other for so long. It was really heartwarming, and everyone blew out when they seen that as well. Just the amount of respect that I gave the Thais and how much respect they gave me back. Just to be one of them, not just a white guy, but I was pretty much a white Thai for the whole time.
Well, it was just unheard of, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
You didn't have the white guys over there living there, competing the way you compete. I mean, you were the first white guy at...
to live there on the scene, in the circuit, full time for the 4 years that I was there.
And the first Australian to fight at Lumpini?
First Australian, yeah. And then even the Thais were saying, what you're doing now, you're making history. They'll look back in years to come and you're going to be the first guy. So, and then now it's normal for people to be there 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. It's just another, but to be the first one, it was really cool.
You were the pioneer.
The pioneer, yes.
And what was it like to go and see your adopted family again? You know what I mean? Like,
it was really cool.
And to see where you lived, to see those humble beginnings where you started. And like they went around in the documentary, showed where you lived, showed the toilets and the gym that you trained. And I remember you said something like, you didn't wash your hands, you just splashed some water up your butt or something.
Oh, the bum, yeah, no toilet paper.
No toilet paper.
So there was a big bath filled with water, and it had a pussy bucket, not a bucket, like a little tub. So yeah, instead of toilet paper, you grab the little tub full of water, and then you pour the water into your hand.
Splash it up there.
And then you got to use your hands as a squeegee to try and get as much water off your butt as you can before you put your shorts on it.
No.
So
and did you wash your hands in the soap before you go back out and train? Or no one cared about this.
Yeah.
No wonder everyone's gone sick for toilet paper right now. They saw your documentary.
There was no coronavirus back then, so you could just touch and grab and everything. Yeah, there's no little buggies back then.
I mean, that was a pretty crazy lifestyle for you at 19 to go and live in this totally foreign country with no creature comforts at all, like not even a bed.
And then like, you'd imagine the size of Brisbane, and no one could speak English. And it's like, this sucks. Everyone was hand signals, so hungry, sleepy, shower. And then eventually, I got to learn this language, otherwise if I'm going to stay here long term, I really need to learn. So the plan was to try and learn 5 words a day. So what's this? What's this? So then I lay out bed at night time and I go over those 5 words, and next day would start. So another new 5 words. And then after a little bit, and then the Thais used to send me on missions to the shops. Okay, I want 1 bag of ice. And then I'd walk down the street, I want 1 bag of ice, and I get to the shop, and then if I want 1 bag of ice, if I change ice to food, or if I want something else, all of a sudden I've got a sentence now. And then that sentence turned into multiple sentences, and then, so my favorite story is whatever the famous songs were at the time. I'd go and buy the CD, and then I'd press play and pause on the CD player, and then I'd write down in English. Pom luck terp, pom POM luck RUCK, and then I remember the whole CD. So then we'd go to karaoke, and it'd be a live band, and like 2,000 people in the club.
And you were singing live in Thai.
And then I put my request in, and then everyone would look at me and it's like, here we go. And I'd be the only Western in the whole nightclub as well. And then the song would start, and then I'd hit the notes, and then I'd practice a lot too, so I wasn't bad, I thought anyway. And then after a couple of bars, next minute 1 person come out the dance floor, 2 people, 3 people, next minute the dance floor is full, and I'm jamming away, smashing this song out, doing the emotions, doing the facials, and then the song would finish, and a round of applause, and then the band's like, hey, you know any more songs? It's like, mate, I know the whole album. Any chance you do it for a couple more? Oh, for sure. Can you do this one? And then I do like 3 or 4 songs. It was so cool. I thought for sure when I retired from Muay Thai, I was going to be a Thai singer. That was my whole goal. So who knows? Maybe that dream's not dead yet. Maybe.
After one championship,
Yeah, maybe.
What about Jessie? Would you ever send him over there to get that sort of experience that you had?
Oh, for sure. So Jessie went when she was 16. But I went with her, but I ended up going to hospital. And her first fight in Thailand was in front of 10,000 people in a park.
Wow.
And then I was in hospital, and I was so scared. I got cellulitis in my leg. I couldn't do anything. And then I'm thinking, oh no, Dad's not there. Poor Jazzy. 10,000 people live on Thai TV. She's gonna shit herself. And then she ended up having the greatest fight ever, and she won. I was like, oh my God. And then I got sad. Oh no, she doesn't need that anymore. Yeah, she doesn't need. What's she gonna? This poor thing's gonna.
Mate, they always need their dads, man. We always need it. I mean, speaking of dads, you've been, from what I can gauge, you've been pretty. You've had some really great father figures in your life. You had like your adoptive parents over in Thailand. You had Richard over here as well.
Yes.
I've met. Man, Boonchu Thai, how good was that? I remember when I lived at Broadbeach, because I lived at Broadbeach for, I think I moved up to the Gold Coast from Sydney in about 93, and I lived in Broadbeach. I bought a house and I lived in that same house for 18 years, right? And Boonchu Thai, man, that was my go-to meal. I reckon I had that 3 times a week. The chicken pad see ew, just the best. And what was his, he had a couple of boys.
James and Louis.
Yeah, they were top blokes too, man. And they used to always work behind there, and I used to always come in there before I go off and do a fight and drive up to Brizzy to the Evolution shows and get a quick Thai before I used to go to work. But Richard, and I only knew Richard through that, and I knew him through, through the fighting, and I'd see him, but he's just such a nice bloke, you know what I mean? And I can see why you gravitated towards him like a father figure, because he was just sensational.
So how it all happened was I was training with a guy called Blair, who was a promoter at the time, Blair Moore.
Yeah.
And then Blair was doing I just beat Mark Pease for the Australian title, and then he goes, it's only like my 5th or 6th fight. And then, all right, you beat Mark Pease, you got the Australian title now. Next fight's in 2 months, and we're fighting a Thai. The Thais only had 10 fights. Which I found out later he had over 100. And I was still 17. And then a friend of Paul Briggs's found out I was going to fight a Thai, and he goes, oh look, if you're going to fight a Thai, you need to be trained by a Thai. I want to introduce you to one of my friends. His name was Saki. So I started training with Saki a couple of times a week. And then Saki's going, hey, I've got another friend that owns a restaurant. I'll tell you what I do. He's happy to give you your first sponsorship. You can go down to his shop once a week to grab something to eat from his shop. Oh, amazing, that sounds cool. So I go down, meet Richard, and Richard's this over-the-top charismatic.
So charismatic, yeah.
Thai, awesome. And then I only lived walking distance. I was 5-minute walk from his shop. So once a week, started turning twice a week, 3 times a week, and then every day, just go down. And then it wasn't even about going and having something to eat anymore. I just sit in the kitchen and I just listen to Richard tell stories about this mystical place called Thailand and the national sports Thai boxing. And
he had all the pictures up on his.
They sleep on the floor, and everyone's lived. Yeah, that's hard, but yes, at the same time, if you can survive the hardness, you become a star.
And he was right.
Yeah. So I had 3 or 4 more fights, and Richard was a big supporter, and he's helped me everywhere he can. And then I fought a gentleman called Scotty Lovelock when I was 19 for the South Pacific title. So Richard come to Noosa with us to support me. Round 2, I get dropped with a leg kick. I beat the count, and then the next I'm clinching him to stay out of the range for him to kick my leg. So end of the 4th round, I sit down. Richard comes into the corner and grabs him by the hair and shakes my head. What are you doing? I need you to win. What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? It was $1,000 for the winner and $750 for the loser. You get me that $1,000. I want you to win that $1,000. And I was so angry with myself that I was losing, and I was disappointed in Richard that looked after me so much that I was internally crying that I was disappointed in him. And I was so mad at the start of the 5th. I went out there and just didn't stop. Ended up knocking him out with like 20 seconds to go on the clock. Picked up the South Pacific title, made Richard the proudest Thai guy in the venue. And then the next day I went down to the restaurant with my new belt to celebrate. And then Richard was so happy. And then he goes, I've got something very important I want to ask you. how would you like to go to Thailand and learn how to be the best from proper champions? That would be amazing. All right, this is the condition. He said, if you can organise your passport, I'll do the rest. I'll get you a camp, I'll pay for your plane ticket, I'll find you somewhere to live, but just got to do your passport. So went to the post office, did the passport. A week later, the passport arrived. Went down the shop, hey Richard, passport's arrived. And then he stormed across, grabbed me by the wrist, and we've walked down the street and we've gone straight to the travel agent. And he goes, all right, I want a 6-month open ticket. And then he's turned to me saying, this is 6 months. He said, if you come back before 6 months, me and you are done. Don't come and see me, we're over. But if you can last 6 months, you make me the proudest Thai father-in-law that you could possibly. It's like, yeah, I'll do my best. I promise I'll try and. He said, I'm warning you, the conditions are going to be rough. You'll be sleeping like a dog and you'll be living like a dog, but if you can do it, imagine your future. So, yeah, no worries. And then sure enough, I get to the camp and they said, here's your bed on the floor, here's your toilet, you got to wipe it with your bum with the water. I said, oh no, I can do this. And I ended up having 5 fights, 5 wins, 3 knockouts. Come back to Australia again, and I was working in the shop picking up plates and just helping Richard out. And there was no plan B at that stage. And then about a month or so after I got back, the Thai camp ran Richard saying, hey, look, we think that kid's got a big future. Any chance you could send him back again? We'd love to have him as part of our team. Richard sat me down again. Hey, look, you want to go back to Thailand? Yes. And he said, and then he's like, all right, there's a new rule. The first one was 6 months. Now, no more playing. I want you to go 1 year. Wow. You have to promise me 1 year.
Wow.
So, but if you come back before 1 year, me and
we're done.
Yeah. I know the rules. So yeah, jumped on the plane, and then '97 was my best year ever. I won my next 4 fights straight. So now I've won my first 9 fights in Thailand straight. I'm fighting at Lumpini now. I'm ranked 4th at 147 pounds at Lumpini Stadium. So I'm like 1 fight away from a Lumpini title. And then we meet the promoter, Songchai. He's #1 promoter in Thailand. All right, now you've had all these wins, so your next fight's going to be against the A class called Orono. And actually, we're watching TV on a Sunday. So I won my 9th fight. To celebrate my 9th win in a row, the magazine said, oh, can we come and do an interview on you? We would love to get your story out there for the Thai people. So they send a photographer to get some snaps. So we go down to the park and we've got like the water and the palm trees and everything behind us. And then the photographer is saying, all right, we need you to look really, really strong because this is for the front cover. So looking around going, what? He goes, oh, didn't we tell you? Yeah, this is for the front cover. You'll be the first Westerner ever on the front cover of a magazine. It's like, holy shit. So yeah, we do this cover. And then a couple of days later, because in Thailand, a lot of the news agents are outside. So if you catch a bus, you're going down the road, next minute you see all these magazines hanging up everywhere we go. It was just like, this is too crazy, this is amazing. So one Sunday we're watching the TV, and then they had some commercials come up and the MCs are talking, saying, oh, we've got a massive show in 4 weeks' time. Sangtan Noi is going to be fighting Gang for the title, and we've got this guy fighting this guy. John Wayne will be making his debut at this stadium against the Orono, and all the Thais stopped and everyone turned at me at once. And I'm going, oh, what? They're going, you're fighting Orono. And at that stage, I've already beaten 9 Thais. I'm like, oh yeah, that's all right. No, you don't understand. You're fighting Orono. And then, and now that I know who he is, it's like a big deal. But back then, I was a bit blasé. And yeah, so sure enough, the fight comes around. And then the first round's going really, really well. And then halfway through the second, he cuts me with an elbow, cuts me through my eyebrow. And then a couple of seconds later, he cuts me again under the eye. And then the fights ended up stopped in the round, halfway through round 3 because of too much blood and everything else. So that was my first reality check. Because this is the big leagues. This is like proper. And then yeah, fast forward 3 years. We're at the King's birthday. I was supposed to fight another Thai, and then I've weighed in, and Songchai's going, oh look, you're a little bit, you're on weight, but the Thai you're fighting, he's a little bit underweight. I don't think it's a good match. I'll tell you what I do. Instead of you fighting that guy tomorrow, how about tomorrow you fight rematch Orono? And
it was for a title too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Orono was the world champion. He was supposed to fight Masato, but Masato didn't want to fight Orono because he was scared that Orono had hepatitis. So Orono's left with no opponent. You're a bit bigger than this guy, so tomorrow you're going to fight Orono instead. And then I was fighting a right-handed
Did you ask
guy.
the question? Does he have hepatitis?
Yeah. I didn't care because it was for the world title too. It's like I'm willing to get hepatitis for the world title. But I was training for a right-hander, and then Orono's a southpaw.
Yeah, he's southpaw.
And then I was like, oh my God, shit, I don't know what to do. I'm so scared because at that stage, Orono was the most painful fight I've ever had. It was like a nightmare. It was like the stuff of nightmares. And then when you get told on 24 hours notice that you're going to fight him again, it's like, I need more mental time to prepare for this because I'm not quite mentally prepared. I'm so scared. So I rang Sangten. He was at the weigh-in. I said, oh no, they're throwing a curveball at me. They want me to fight Orono tomorrow. What should we do? And then Sangten, my trainer at the time, he's like, take it, let's do it. I'm quite confident that we've got this. In fact, I've got a game plan, but I don't want to tell you now. I'll tell you the game plan tomorrow. I said, oh, that's not good.
As in on the day of the fight?
Yeah. I got the game plan, but I don't want you to overthink it right now, so I'll tell you in the morning. So trying to sleep, tossing and turning, oh no, I'm going to die. Tomorrow I'm going to die for sure. So I wake up in the morning and Sangten, all right, I couldn't sleep. What's his game plan? He goes, all right, so you're orthodox, he's southpaw, you got cut. So I think the best way to fight him is tomorrow. Tonight, I want you to go southpaw. So southpaw versus southpaw. I was like, that's not a good idea.
Had you fought southpaw before?
No, that's a terrible idea. That's the worst idea ever. And then he explained it to me, saying, if you stand southpaw, your right hand will now be your lead hand, which is going to block his left elbows. Which when he did the demonstration, it made a lot of sense. And then from that moment forward, I'm shitting myself every single second, going, I can't go southpaw. I can't go southpaw. I'll try southpaw. I can't go southpaw. So I had this little war going on.
Oh, man.
And then the fight before the King's birthday, they get you to prepare. So you got your robe, got your shorts on, you've warmed up, you're shadowed, and they get you to sit on the stage. And as soon as Orono's fight's done, he's off, the next person's on. And I'm still shitting myself. I can't go southpaw. This is like 3 minutes before I'm walking down this runway towards the ring. I can't do it. I got to do it. What about I just do it, and if I start losing, I'll go back to orthodox again. So anyway, got on the ring, did the round moys. The bell started for the first. I stood southpaw, and I've thrown a 1-2 leg kick, and it's landed. Oh, okay. And he's throwing a kick, and I blocked it off my right leg now, and I come back and I countered. That landed too. And then it just seemed everything I threw was working. And then, oh, fuck it. If it's going to work, I'll just stay. And I ended up staying southpaw for the 5 rounds. And ended up beating him every single round over the 5 rounds. And you can imagine this is in front of 100,000 people on the King's birthday, live on Thai TV. And then Orono's that guy that they call him the 3 O's, Orono. So everyone's, when he fights, everyone's like, Orono. But then when we fought on the King's birthday, it was complete silence because I was smashing him. And then the silence was a reassurance that I was winning. Yeah. And then every time he sort of had a little bit, and then I start winning again, and then it goes silence again. So yeah, it was such a.
Was that the fight that really set you apart from everyone else in Thailand? Was that the one that really sort of made your mark, or?
Well, it's sort of hard. There's so many. Every single
There's
fight
a lot of
was
defining
important.
moments you had in Thailand, wasn't there? Yeah.
That was definitely one of the bigger ones. And then 2004, so that was 2000 when I beat Orono. Then 2004, this stage I was back in Australia. I'd met Angie, got married, had Jazzy, and she was 1 at this stage. And I got an email from the promoter, Songchai, saying, hey, we have this massive 8-man tournament coming up. It's first of its kind at Rajadamnern Stadium. The winner will receive a world title, 1 million baht, and a trophy from the Prime Minister of Thailand. And we've got this guy, who are all killers as well. I was like, yep, done. So jump on the plane, train for 4 weeks with Sangten, and now Sangten's shooting a movie with Diafat from France. So he's only watched me train 3 times in the 4 weeks that I'm there because he's shooting the movie every day. I feel good. I'm training hard. I'm pushing myself. So my first fight, I fought a Russian. You remember? His name was Muhammad. You remember Ramazan? So it was remember Ramazan? Ramazan fought Corbett back at the old days.
Yes.
So Ramazan fought Corbett. So I believe Ramazan and Muhammad are cousins or brothers.
Yep.
So, and he was massive. So I beat him on points. And then my next fight, I fought a guy from France called Jean-Charles Skabowski.
Yes.
Who was George St. Pierre's trainer on Ultimate Fighter. So he was the man. After I'd come back to Australia again, Skabowski went to Thailand. Now he was the new Falang after I'd come home. So I was like, oh, he's taking my spot. So I knew if I beat him, that'll claim my old spot back. So I fought him, ended up stopping him at the start of the third. And then in the final, I was fighting a Thai that had previously beat me 3 times in a row. It was 3-0.
What was his name?
Nintagan.
Yeah.
Nintagan. And so the first 2 fights were 3 rounds with no elbows, and then the final was 5 rounds with elbows. So it's like, oh no! So I got a proper Muay Thai fight after having already two Muay Thai fights already, and then but the good news was, I fought first against Skabowski, beat him, and then he fought somebody, and then he had a tough 3 rounds, and he's going to get out of the ring, and they've gone, no, stop, stay in the ring. We're running out of TV time, so you are fighting the final straight away.
Oh.
Yeah. So pretty much his opponent's left. I've come into the ring. He hasn't left yet. He's had a couple of little drinks and got his breath back, but at the same time, he's pretty knackered. Yeah.
That's
So
tough.
it had to be the other way around. I definitely would have not done as well for sure. But yeah, so 3 rounds. I knew he was tired, so I've picked up the gat straight away. High work rate to try and make him exhausted as possible. And in the clinch, even the Thai was saying in Thai in my ear, goes, what are you doing? Slow down. So we've got 5 rounds. And I'm like, And then sure enough, I got the one on points at Rajanandan Stadium for the world title, $1 million baht, trophy from the Prime Minister. And at the stage, it was the biggest prize money ever given in Thailand. So the next day, every single newspaper had articles and back pages and then pull-outs and the magazines.
The king of the world.
Yes, and then tuk-tuk drivers are pulling up when they see me walk the streets, ask for photos, and taxi drivers. And
Man, no wonder you're finding it hard to retire.
yeah, it was such a buzz. It was so cool. It was just, especially when you're in another country where Thai people are asking you for a picture because you've done well in their sport. It was such a
And
dream
we have
come
to
true.
work out where you can go after this next lot of fighting goes. What if we did a documentary based around you right now heading into one championship? I reckon that'd be good. Because when was that last doco done? That was, what, 5 years ago?
2010.
2010 was it?
Yeah.
That long ago?
That long ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so much water under the bridge since
Yeah,
then.
10 years. And you've done a shitload since 2010.
Yes, and with the Contender Series as well.
That's right. John St. Clyde in the
Clyde.
final.
So yeah, Singapore was fun. So we lived in Singapore for 10 weeks. We shot 14 episodes in 8 weeks. And then there was a 6-month gap between the semi-final and the final. And that way they could edit and then air this 14 episodes and then have a live final at the end. So but everyone that was watching the series knew everyone's storyline by that stage, and they could they were invested in each of the different fighters of how they grew up and where they grew up and their upbringing and blah blah blah. And then so we had for the final we had 10,000 people in Singapore for the grand finale. And then when we arrived after a 6-month break, when we come back again, the whole street with every single telegraph pole had a banner of me and Yotsen all on the main street. It was like, this is so crazy. This is amazing. It was just. And then Singapore wasn't known for martial arts back then either. And then after the show aired, because it was the first real reality TV show that had been shot in Singapore, martial arts just exploded. Even now, when you go back to Singapore, martial arts is like one of the number one things.
Did you like Singapore?
Yeah, Singapore's cool. Very clean, very
clean,
small.
isn't it? Beautiful country.
Yeah, and everyone spoke Singlish.
Yeah.
So there was no hard feelings.
But there's full-on laws over there, isn't there? For drugs.
Yes.
But isn't it like chewing gum? You can't even chew chewing gum in public.
Yeah, and then it was still a little bit crazy with the virus when I took Lockie there in February. It hadn't really kicked off yet. It was on its way. So every time we went to the hotel, they'd do a quick thermometer check of our forehead with the laser. And then it was a closed stadium. They hired a 10,000 seat stadium, and then they closed it to the public for everyone's safety, which was mind blowing. So we did rehearsals the day before. Here's the stage. Here's where everyone's going to stand. All right, done. The next day we went back to the stadium, and exactly the same. The rehearsal was exactly the same as the real thing because no one was there still. And then the MC called out the fighters. All right, and the blue corner, we've got Rocky Ogden. And I was like, It was me and 3 other people clapping. It was like so sad. And then poor Rocky's jumping up and down, waiting for the applause, and there's no one there. It's like, oh no. And then fighting a killer too against Same, and every single kick and every single footstep and every single breath you could hear, it was just bizarre. But at the same time, yeah, at least they got a fight though. So unlike now, where everything's sort of handbrake.
And what are you doing to get yourself through this crazy time? Are you
just trying to stay sane? I'm very lucky we're in the gym, so
Yeah.
if I come down, I got a sneaky session this morning before you came down.
Yep.
And bring the kids down, get them out of the house, try and beat the
some
cabin
people must be
fever.
going nuts.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. We're very active and.
Well, I've got a dojo set up in my home.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, so I've transformed my garage. I've got like a big garage. It's probably a 42 square metre space, so it's quite big.
Yep.
And cleaned it all out, put walls up, did the hotbox and dice, painted it, put all the mats down, got the bag up. I live with another black belt, which is really cool.
Perfect. How was
and
that?
then his girlfriend is training Jiu Jitsu, and then my little boy's been training for the last 5 years. So we have our little, quarantine. We call it the quarantine. So it's just us getting together, doing little Jiu Jitsu sessions. It's unreal, and that's keeping us sane. But there must be a lot of people going a little bit stir crazy.
Yeah.
A mate of mine works in pubs and clubs, and obviously pubs and clubs are closed, but they have bottle shops, so he's gone to sort of running the bottle shop. And he was telling me that alcohol sales in Australia have gone up 85%.
Whoa, damn.
Since this whole coronavirus thing's happened. 85%. And domestic violence has gone through the roof as well.
I've read that as well.
Yeah, so it's crazy times, so I think everyone needs that outlet,
Yeah.
This is why I think martial arts helps everyone, no matter who you are. I think you should all have a punching bag at home.
Yeah, I notice I'm more polite to my wife now, just in case I make her angry. I don't want to be a victim.
Now that she's doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu too, she's going to do some sort of crazy flying armbar on you.
I'm screwed. And then I can't even yell at the kids now because they'll armbar me as well.
That's so good. Hey man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much.
Hey, this is awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to have a chat.
John Wayne Parr, I'm really looking forward to, once we get through this crazy time, to see what happens over there with the One Championship. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I believe One Championship is possibly the greatest Muay Thai promotion. I know they started MMA, but for what they're doing for Muay Thai fighters and K1 guys, and just giving the opportunity to shine, where MMA has been so prominent.
It's been very dominant, hasn't it?
But now Muay Thai is given the chance, and cage Muay Thai too. So they took my idea.
Oh,
and
is it going to be in the cage?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. They've been doing CMT for a while now.
Nice,
so
yeah.
I personally think it would have been rude if they didn't invite me, considering it was my idea.
Considering you started,
yeah. So,
well, it's going to be rude if you don't win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be rude. So yeah, I'm so pumped. I'm really, really excited for the future. And once this friggin' virus disappears, but just the fact that me, Lockie, and hopefully Jazzy, and just the opportunity to represent Australia on the big stage again, and just still be active and still just keep having fun and just high-fiving my friends.
This has been another episode of the Bold and the Beautiful podcast. Dave Eller has left the building.